What's up guys? Today we're going to be breaking down the Renegade Row. In this video, we're going to talk about the how-to, some benefits, variations, and common mistakes that come along with this movement. Now without further ado, let's dive into the tutorial. When setting up for the Renegade Row, position the dumbbells directly under the shoulders. Now, there will be a little bit of variance based on your shoulder width and what feels best, but generally, under the shoulders is your best starting point. The feet, their width will range between hip and shoulder width. Now, the wider you go, the easier it will be to perform this movement because you'll have a wider base. When initiating the row, think about your positioning similar to as you would in an extended plank. Brace the core, squeeze the glutes, and drive those heels to the ground. Initiate that row similar to what you would do in a dumbbell row. Think about creating that nice lawnmower fashion where you're really engaging the lat. Avoid swinging that elbow out to pull that dumbbell high. So pull that dumbbell in similar to as you would in a dumbbell row. Control the weight on the way down and repeat this process on the opposing arm. Now, if you're hiking up the hip or swinging the arm with momentum, chances are you're going too heavy and it's time to scale back the weight. 3 benefits to the Renegade Row is number 1 is it's kind of a best of all worlds kind of exercise. It's great for training the core because you're holding an extended plank position, and it's great for training the upper back and lat, and it's good for training stability. So you have to move that one limb off the ground and you have 3 planted limbs. You have to maintain your torso positioning and your body positioning, which is just an all-around benefit when it comes to stability, which will have carryover to other lifts. Number 2 is that this movement is great for just accruing extra volume for your pulling days. So obviously you're not gonna be able to load it as heavy as some of your other row variations, but to get the benefit of training the core and also additional volume for the lats and upper back, this movement can be very beneficial. The 3rd benefit of the Renegade Row is that it's easy to scale for every level fitness enthusiast while finding benefit doing so. So if you're brand new to training, you can use a lighter pair of dumbbells. And if you're a little bit more advanced, you can use heavier dumbbells and even add a push-up in between reps to add extra pushing volume on top of your pulling volume. So this movement's easy to scale and it doesn't take a ton of requirement to do. So in this video, we'll talk about 3 pretty common Renegade Row variations. And the first is the variation that has a push-up in between each rep. So you're gonna row once on the right, row once on the left, do a push-up in between, and then repeat that process through. The second variation we'll talk about is using something like kettlebells, something that's a little bit more unstable when it comes to the rowing portion, and especially in the eccentric when you're putting it back down. You have to be very mindful of your body positioning and your strength with this variation. So I would highly recommend only advanced athletes really using it, and even then being careful when doing so. A 3rd variation you can use is just simply elevating your feet on a bench. That's gonna put your body in a more parallel position. It almost reminds me of a seal row without the support on your chest. So those are 3 variations you can use. There are a ton of different variations out there that you can try, but those are the 3 that I like to usually discuss and coach. 2 mistakes that come along with the Renegade Row is number 1, using too much weight. And you see this pretty often, especially with newer lifters who are trying this movement out. They take on way too much weight, and what you end up seeing is the opening of the chest, they're hiking their hips, and it's kind of just taking away the whole benefit of trying to maintain that stable body positioning when performing the physical row. The second common mistake you see with this movement is improper foot positioning. Now, the feet will vary from athlete to athlete, but one thing you commonly see are the feet being a little bit too close. So what that ends up doing is it pretty much takes away your whole bottom base when performing the row. So when you're trying to row, your feet are lifting up, they're moving, your hips are shifting, and so forth. That has to do a little bit with how much weight you're using, but it also just comes down from a pure positioning position, even if you're using lighter weight. So be very mindful of your foot positioning and don't try to go too narrow before you're really ready. And that wraps up our Renegade Row tutorial. If this helped you at all, make sure to drop us a like. If you use a variation that I didn't mention, drop us a comment below, explain how you use the Renegade Row and how you program it accordingly. And if you want more on this topic, make sure to Google our full written in-depth article by searching BarBend and Renegade Row.